Okay, Kim, we are back again. We've reviewed Scream 2, and Scream 3. And
Yes.
now we're on Scream 4 and Scream 5, but it's actually
Yeah.
just called Scream, which, as I rewatched it today, reminded me of why they did that, because they're kind of making fun of the whole thing like Halloween did, even though this is before Halloween, where they just are like come up with a different title, but they didn't do
Yeah.
that for the sake of just underscoring that joke potentially. But anyway, how are you doing?
Good. Good.
Good. Are you ready
Good.
to
Yes.
are you ready to dive back into these films in preparation for Scream 6, which you're gonna see? When are you seeing it? Are you seeing it later this
Thursday at
week?
6 o'clock.
Nice. That's
Yes.
awesome. I don't
Yes.
know when I'm gonna see it. Maybe, you know what? I might go to a matinee this week because it's spring break for us,
Yeah. Yeah.
in the instructor world, even though I've got some other stuff that I'm doing for my other job. But yeah, maybe I'll go see it. Maybe I'll just go to a matinee this week. I should do that so
Yeah.
we can then review it, which is what we need
Yeah.
to do, obviously.
Obviously.
So, okay, Scream 4, and it's funny. So before we, started this recording, I was sort of lamenting the fact that even though I literally just watched every Scream movie back to back to back to back, I still kind of get some of them mixed up in my head a little bit, and I think it's because of the structure and the plot.
Yeah.
Trying to sort of identify that. But Scream 4 really is trying to riff on internet culture and celebrity internet culture, and it's kind of humorous to watch it now because I think it was released in 2011, something like
That
that.
sounds that sounds familiar. That would make
Because
sense.
even though it's talking about that, it already feels a little bit dated just because of some of the technology in it, right?
Yes. Yeah. There's the whole like live streaming and things like that that
The
to
bulky
them
like
feel
head
sort of
camera,
that feel sort of cutting edge technology wise. Now for us are like, okay, like and I would argue that COVID sort of fast forwarded a lot of that for us
yeah.
technology wise. We had to kind of get behind so much of that so quickly. But yeah, which I like because we talked about in our last review, like with cell phones and technology and how those play a role in horror films. And you had said like there are some movies and things you see that like don't even bring up, so they don't really talk about cell phones, almost to get us to like not think about them. And as I was rewatching Scream 4 this morning, I feel like they almost overuse them in a way that I feel like
Right.
kind of does the same thing. There's even one scene where like everyone in the scene is literally talking on a cell phone to like a different person. And I feel like in some way by using them that much, they've done the same thing of almost like getting us desensitized to cell phones because they're so attached to everybody and part of the visual. So I don't even always think about it because I've already thought about it so much.
Yeah, and so I think because you're the Scream expert, in like a I don't know 4 to 5 sentence nutshell, what is the plot of this movie? Scream
Of
4.
Scream 4.
Scream
So
4. Yeah.
Scream 4, Sydney Prescott is doing a book tour to kind of close the final chapter on her experience as the final girl of the Woodsboro murders. And the last stop on her tour is Woodsboro on
Of
the
course.
anniversary, of course, of all the murders from Scream 1. So now we have this sort of new cast of teenagers, one of which is her cousin.
Right.
And now they are being stalked and killed. Ghostface, who makes a lot of references to sort of he's making his own movie. And so there's still a lot of overlap with Sydney and Gail and Dewey. They're all there, but it very much focuses on this new group, which is why I'm like, why did we need Scream 5? Anyways, we didn't
Because
need it.
money.
I
Right? I
mean,
mean,
yes, money. Yes, money. So
that's what we need is Scream 4 also, because money. And
well,
Scream 6, I
so
guess.
we talked last time about how like Scream 3 felt final and we were good. Like if this had
Yeah,
all
I
ended with
love
Scream
actually
3.
the same thing you said, which was if it had ended there, I would have said, you know what, this is a really solid trilogy of horror movies.
Yes.
Like I'm good with this.
And so my question is if Scream 5 had never been made and there was never going to be a Scream 6, basically my perfect world, where they just ended with Scream 4, would
Yeah.
you still feel that same like, okay, good chapter, good end? I'm still happy with how this looks.
Yes, but I still think the way the third movie ended with like the closing shots and kind of the finality of Scream 3 Just sort of
Yeah,
where Sydney is like, I'm in a place of peace, like I'm not worried about somebody
yeah,
always coming after me. I still think that would have ultimately been a better ending, but I don't. I mean, and this is the thing we were just talking about. This Scream One is still my favorite movie of this series. I think actually Scream Four in a lot of ways is my second favorite, even though I think Scream Three was a really good close to the story and
yeah,
would have been fine just that
yeah,
way. And I like Scream Four just because of what it's saying about internet celebrity society and what it's trying to communicate with all that. And I like the way that it has sort of a false ending and then a real ending, which
yeah,
I don't know if I love that 100%, how it kind of keeps going, but I guess they had to have that scene after the house to kind of show one of
yeah,
the killers anyway, and her sort of achieving her goal, at least for the few minutes before they realize what's going on
yeah.
for the situation.
Which, and I think it speaks to that what they were trying to achieve, like creating their own fame. You can do that. Like that's
Yeah.
what people do. People are
You're a
influencers.
famous TikToker, right?
I
That's you, Kim.
one video, one. They got 50,000 views and that's it.
That's
Um,
that's a lot of views.
it is a lot. None have gotten even close to it after that, which is fine. But I like that they did end with that. That even though we know the truth and everything that happens up in the hospital, we know that Jill is dead. But I like that the society of it is like, yes, we have a new final girl now, and we worship her because that's exactly what would happen if
Right,
something
and
like that happened.
I did like in that scene where it ends in the kitchen where she kind of lays down and is trying to mimic Sydney, like to look
Yes,
just like her. I
yes,
thought that was cool, and obviously when she's getting
yeah,
wheeled out on the stretcher and everybody's taking pictures and wanting to interview her and all of that kind of stuff. And then you've got, I think it's Rory Culkin is in this one, which
yep,
he's a cool character. He's sort of the movie trivia guy. And the first time I saw this, I did not expect him to be involved at all. So they did a good job from the whodunit perspective, I think, with the fourth one.
yes, even having seen it multiple times and rewatching it today, because that's what I always do. Like, I know who the killer is now. As I'm watching this, when does it become evident? And I do not think, and the scene I just actually ended on before we started was the scene where he got revealed, where he
Right.
killed, where he kills Kirby, and you realize he's been involved. And I still feel like that is a really strong reveal. Like
Yeah.
I think they do just enough to kind of put him in this scene without making him like a suspect. So, but then when he comes up, you're not like, well, that was out of left field, which I kind of felt like was the case of Scream 5. But
Well, how did you feel about Sydney's cousin being a killer in this? I mean, did you expect that when you were watching it the first time, or
I don't think I did. I really don't. And I wish I could remember. But I don't think I expected her, but I loved it
yeah,
because I feel like that's real. Like that could really happen when someone sees that trauma or that trauma lives in their life. That is how they could potentially process that is like, here's all the attention. I would like that attention now. I guess I just have to kill everyone to get it. That seems reasonable.
well, and one of the questions you would ask me when we were reviewing Scream 1 through 3 was, what were my favorite kills? I will say Scream 4 and 5 have some of my favorite kills out of this whole series. Depending on how you feel about Scream 5 as a movie, I think it had some good kills to it. I love the one in Scream 4 where the cop gets the knife to the forehead and is
Yeah.
just sort of stumbling out of the car and, F Bruce Willis, the whole thing.
But then that's where like I again watching it today, I was like, there are some overly campy moments in Scream 4.
Oh,
And you
yeah.
could absolutely argue it's because the whole film they throw out the word meta like every 5 minutes. And that we understand. So in a way, I get that they feel confident and comfortable that they can make these sort of comedic references, even after the first big scene of the two girls getting killed and Dewey's on the radio and they're like, you got to get down here, Sheriff. It's real bad. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that sounds horrible, but like, I guess it works. I don't know. I
You
didn't,
mean from just like a writing perspective, like the dialogue is bad?
yeah, like it is. The acting and the dialogue, no offense to those people, is campy. And I guess Scream 1, 2, and 3 to me, while very aware, never felt campy. And I
Right.
felt like this one did. And I don't and also it was made, I don't know how many years apart. So it's a very different audience.
Yeah, because I think Scream 3 was like 2001. So it was like 10 years after the fact.
And they do make references to Gail and Dewey being married 10 years. I do think it's supposed to be like a 10-year thing. And so I have to, I don't know. It's a different audience, so they're allowed to do it, but it's definitely not my favorite part of Scream 4 because it does start to feel a little different than what it established in the first 3.
And I do hope with Scream 6 that it continues the self-aware horror movie trope kind of
I'm sure it
thing.
will.
Because if it doesn't to me, like if it's trying to be, well, I don't want to say more serious of a horror movie because I guess they're serious horror movies, even though they're not exactly. Like it just feels like it's going to lose a little bit of its soul in going that. I mean, hopefully it doesn't do that. I mean, I guess we'll see, but I don't
Well,
know.
and I guess and I could see why you'd think that it might not because they have sort of set this new story now in
Yeah,
Scream 5. Like I think the reason that we had it in 1, 2, 3, 4 is because we had Sydney Prescott and like
yeah.
she sort of carried that in this new ensemble of people. I guess I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't carry that. If they're like, we've done enough of that, we're gonna do something else. But and then I don't know. I don't know how I'd feel about it. Because I also
Yeah.
don't want them to do it so much that we're like, we get it. Like, you
Well,
know.
so and I believe I'm thinking of the right Scream movie. This is the one where it begins with like a couple of false starts, right? Like a
Yes,
stab, and I
including
love
one
that.
with Kristen Bell and Anna Paquin. So,
Yeah,
like, you've got 2 very big stars in it for 15 seconds. But yeah, they've got the different stab movies and all the ways that they start and stuff like that, which I like. I think it's
I
cool.
no, I like that too, and I like, regardless of how you might feel about Scream 5, I like that the series as a whole has not strayed from the whole stab thing. Like the fact that it's still
Yeah.
one solidified universe, right? Like there's
Yes.
no really like a
They're not
reboot.
pretending that never happened.
Right, right. They haven't fallen victim to that quite yet because again, some of my favorite horror franchises have done that a couple of times. Like Halloween springs to mind,
Yeah.
as having done that twice that I can think of, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, Scream 4, I really liked it a lot. I thought it was and I think that was the last one Wes Craven did, right? Was that his
I
final?
want to say yes.
Yeah. Which I can kind of see that in how Scream 5 is. I mean, it's not drastically, I wouldn't think it's drastically different than something that he might concoct, but at the same time, like, I don't know. You're like, yes, it is. It's terrible. Um
We'll
so
get to it.
okay, Scream 4, I really enjoyed it a lot. Again, maybe my second favorite of the series. I had a lot, and again, I've had fun with all of these to some extent, but I don't know anything else with Scream 4 that just stands out that you think is worth kind of, talking about.
I mean, I guess I don't know. Well, we talked about the whole Gail Dewey relationship thing and like how like that kind of does the roller coaster. And we'll talk more about it with Scream 5. But as I'm watching Scream 4, people even make comments to her about like, because in real life, you two would never be together. And it's like I appreciated in Scream 4 that they finally like put them in a relationship and they've been together for 10 years and it's not this on off and then obviously that's going to change again for Scream 5.
Right.
But I do feel like in its awareness Scream 4 talked about a lot of the stuff that audience members during the first 3 screams were probably thinking of like that seems like a weird relationship that would never really work, and so they're at least acknowledging that.
Well, and I think I even said that when we were doing the
Yeah.
Scream 1 through 3 review of, like, I just didn't buy it, but so again, it's sort of that self-awareness coming into play.
Yeah.
Okay, so Scream 5, your
Yeah.
favorite of the series, clearly. Do you want to do a plot synopsis of this
I
one?
don't think I could do a plot synopsis, I'm not gonna lie. Uh, Teenage girl sees her dead father's spirit in a rear view mirror and
Yeah, so Sydney
ugh,
Sydney Prescott is in this one, but she's a little bit more sidelined, right? I mean, so she's not really the main kind of
no.
character here. Gail Weathers is back, Dewey is back, and I would say Dewey's probably got the most prominent role in this of the original
Yeah,
cast, I
yeah.
think. Besides Billy, maybe. I don't know, like not exactly, but uh, yeah, so and I forget all the characters' names. It doesn't matter. There's characters in this, and they do things. They're teenage characters that do
And
things.
that's my
They
big
get
problem.
yeah.
I couldn't tell you any other names. Can I tell you? I don't remember a single death from Scream 5 except one, and the only
I
one that
do well, and it's just literally I watched it this morning again, so it's fresh in my mind. I will say there was one death that I thought was pretty good, and it was I can't remember his name, but the high schooler who's got like blonde highlights. whatever his name is, he gets a knife to the neck, but it's like you see it come out. Like it's just like the way they.
Is he the sheriff's son?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's one of the only other scenes that I do remember because of the actor, because I really
Right.
like him.
Okay, so this is all right, and I could be just completely wrong about this. So the sheriff in this movie, I can't remember her name, the one that makes lemon squares,
Judy
whatever.
Hicks.
So is that the same actress that you see at the beginning of the first stab who's in the shower? Or is that because
No.
it looks exactly like her. Like she looks
That actress is Heather Graham. I'm
okay.
very sure. I'm very, and this actress is Marley something. They are two actresses that I have always gotten mixed up. I'm not even
Okay.
gonna
Well then
not
clearly I've
always,
done the same
but
thing,
they have
obviously.
over the years. I've always gotten them mixed up, and then that's what I thought. But no, it is two different
I was
actresses.
really trying to pay close attention because I kept thinking they look exactly alike. Like I was thinking it's the same person, but obviously it's not. I mean, that wouldn't make sense in this universe for it to be the
You
same
know,
person.
Judy Hicks was in Valentine.
No, oh,
That's
wait, who?
Kate. That's the blonde girl from Valentine.
Okay. I did not. I just did not make that connection. But that's so she's been in a number of horror movies, obviously.
She's been in stuff. Yes.
Yeah. So okay, yeah. So and speaking of the legacy characters, so you see Dewey in this one. Obviously, he's no longer with Gail. He's living in a trailer. He's living in obviously kind of rundown conditions. He basically says that I guess the sheriff's department forced him to retire, essentially or something, but he's coming back because these kids show up. And
They
so
need
the
his
thing
help.
is, one of these teenagers, I guess not a teenager actually, she's in her early 20s at this point, but
Yeah.
it's the daughter of Billy, who is one of the killers from the original
Yes.
movie. And she
Yes.
finds this out because her parents kept it hidden from her, or at least her mom did. I guess her dad didn't even know, or whatever. Is sort of the thing that they
Yeah.
explain. But she finds like a diary in an attic, reads
Yeah.
it. She doesn't realize he's behind him when she's reading it to her mom and getting upset. And it's a bunch of drama, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you got a serial killer for a dad. Who cares, right? Totally kidding. But
I
so that's
mean, but who cares?
but so and this is again, if we want to talk about gripes, this is probably my biggest gripe with the movie. And but I can see why they did it. And it's that same actor, right? It's the actor from the original movie, as far as I
Yeah.
can tell. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I know they tried to get his hair exactly the same and all that kind of stuff. But this whole she has like psychotic visions and almost like a split, not a split personality, but she sort of sees him in her mind's eye all the time. I don't know. It
Yeah.
just that piece of it did not mesh with the
Yeah.
tone of the other movies, and that kind of threw me off a little bit. Is that what you would say
That
is your
was
biggest
my big
gripe?
revelation last night when I was thinking about why I hate Scream 5 so much. And it is because of that. I think it's dumb and I hate it. But why I can justify it is because and they even say this in Scream 4 in their little stab openings. One of them says the reason I love the stab movies is because they're real. They could really happen. Because all of the Scream movies, they're just people. There's people killing other people. There's nothing supernatural. There's
Right.
nothing weird. And then all of a sudden in Scream 5, she's having psychotic visions of this dead guy who she never met. And I just hate that whole story of oh no, my parent was a killer. Am I going to be a killer too?
Well,
No,
I think
you're not.
the thing that I hate about it the most, other than the fact that the vibe doesn't mesh, is they almost try to make him sympathetic, right? Like,
Yeah.
which is weird. I'm
Right?
like, this is a weird direction to take this whole thing in.
Yeah. No, it was definitely weird and I don't like it. Now I feel like I get and I don't know why, but I would wager they're trying to create this new ensemble, this new storyline. I want to know why they had to make this connection, but I feel like they had to connect it to the original somehow. Connect this new group to the old group, and this was
Right.
how they were going to do it. Because in Scream 4, they literally had the connection. Jill, she was the connection. Part of me is like, could you have not maybe, or even maybe kept Jill the killer? And I know Kirby comes back in Scream 5. That's not a spoiler. So, okay, keep her the central figure. We didn't need our in Scream 6. Scream 5
I was like, is she in Scream
sorry,
5? And I totally
Scream
missed
6.
this. Like, I was like in
There
my
is
mind, like,
I don't know if it's a deleted scene or something, but there's a screenshot where someone's looking at YouTube and you can see a YouTube video of Kirby's character. So you
okay.
know that she lived. So
Well, and
there
I
is
do, I will say, at least there's a connection in Scream 5 to Randy, right? So he kind of makes an appearance, not really, but
yes. So again, you have these little connections, and even if you found out that she was Billy's daughter, cool. We did not need to see him at all in this movie. Like
That
that
yeah,
was
I
just a
think
weird freaking element.
that was just a weird yeah, like, I agree. I think that just was one step too far in
And
the
it had
writing.
nothing to do really with the
Yeah.
killers.
Yeah.
Their
Yeah,
motive,
so
why they ended up killing people, not related really at all to this. And that's the part that bothers me. It doesn't meet the tone and it serves no plot purpose, really.
and I will say, even though I was the first time I watched Scream 5, I wasn't 100% sure of it, but I kept and I'm not sure if it was just the way they had written the story, and as a viewer, I was supposed to feel this way or think this way, but I kept thinking that the guy she's dating, the protagonist, that, like, he's
Yeah.
gonna be the killer somehow. Like, I just kept thinking in my head, like, even though
Yeah.
they're showing him next to even he's in the same room when the guy or whoever it is in Ghostface mask is there, like, I just
Yeah.
thought eventually he's gonna be somehow involved. So this one felt, I wouldn't say like wholly predictable, but a little bit more so than some of the other ones, I guess. I don't
And
know.
it really does not, it's almost the same as Scream 4. You've got a young girl who's trying to recreate something for her own purposes, and the
Yeah.
guy that she used to help her. And I'm like, that's what Scream 4 did. You just did the same thing in Scream 5.
Well, and they almost, I mean, when they're back in that house from the first movie and the whole thing with like Halloween, except this time it's Stab playing on the TV and it's like, look
Yeah.
behind you. Like, I mean, again, I appreciate it. I will say, out of all these movies, or of all these movies, I think that sort of awareness of horror tropes is one of the things that I do love the most. I mean, the last two do have really good kills, but I like that piece of it, so that didn't bother me so much. But so as far as the killers, so you didn't love obviously who they ended up being in this one.
I absolutely hated it. I hated
You
it.
didn't like when
I
the
didn't care. I didn't care at all about their motives, about anything. I wanted everyone to die. Everyone. Just
yeah,
everybody's dead. That would be the best way to end Scream.
Even Sydney and Gail.
Might as well. At this point, you might as
Well,
well.
so speaking of, before I get to the sort of ending of this, what did you think about Dewey dying? I mean, did you see that coming, or how did you feel
I
about that
did.
one?
I did see that coming, and I'm okay with it because I don't know that his character, like, I was under the impression that this would be the last time we would see these characters because Scream 6 was supposed to go in a new direction. Obviously, Gail is in Scream 6. I feel pretty confident she's not making it out of Scream 6. In fact,
Yeah,
if she survives Scream 6, I will be mad. Like, kill
yeah.
her now because,
Well, because Dewey's gone, and like
yeah,
I
what are
don't
you
know.
still doing here except Courtney Cox needs a paycheck? So, like, that I
Right. I mean, you
understand.
gotta have more of the face tightening. Like, I feel like every one of these movies, this is so bad for it's like it's just like it becomes more and more it's like a Jack Palance effect. It's just like weathered,
But it is, and so I will say, and I feel like I talked to somebody about this, that the only thing that bothered me about Dewey's death is that it just should have been better,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. I mean, and I
for
guess
who
it's
he was.
yeah, like, I mean, he's a character that I think everybody loves for the most part.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know why you wouldn't, but like, and I'm sure they wrestled with how long do we linger on this? How dramatic do we make it? That kind of thing. And I feel like just a little more to it would have been good. I mean,
yeah,
it wasn't like a quick glancing, oh, he's shot, he's dead, or he stabbed, he's dead kind of thing. But I don't know. I just don't. You would think with his character, he should have died saving somebody at the end of the movie or something. Like,
yes,
I don't know. I mean, he did save somebody, I guess, when it's all said and done, but he didn't have
yeah.
to go back into that hospital either. So
So that's where I'm like, okay, I'm fine with him dying. I just felt like it did disservice to the character.
yeah, I mean, the only other thing I mean, again, I was entertained by this movie. I don't think, obviously, I don't hate it as much as you do, which I totally get it. But I did love at the end when I can't remember her name, but the other killer who got set on fire, she just comes back to
Yeah,
life and is like half burned, like running with a knife kind of
which
situation.
I have no problem with killers coming back. That's part of the meta ness is like that's the joke they make in every one. They always come back, shoot him in the head because they always come back. And even Randy's character says in Scream 3, in this one, you've either got to like cryogenically freeze their ass or decapitate them. Like, you know that you've got, but like, I'm sorry, that to me wasn't realistic. If a person is that burnt, unless you're a Chucky doll, you're not getting back up.
You
So
get they're done at that point.
yeah.
So, okay, so we've talked about both these movies. What I want to kind of end this discussion on is a little bit of prediction stuff. So, I assume you have not read any of these threads about Scream 6, so you don't know,
No, no,
which is good.
I don't wanna
I hate
know.
I hate spoilers. Like I don't want to know anything about it going
Yeah.
into it because again, that's part of the fun of these movies, especially is trying to figure it out as you sort of go along. So I think one way to sort of think through this is there a certain trend in Hollywood right now that would give us an idea of what who it could be, what direction they're going in because they're always talking about like, oh, here's what you can't do in a remake or here's what you can't do in a sequel. Like I don't know. Like, I mean, is there anything that stands out to you that could give us some kind of bearing as to what they're maybe going to try and do here, or not as much?
The only things that I've been really trying to use to figure that, like in the trailer, they obviously show, I don't even know what the big giant room that has all this like
The, sh-
stuff, like
the shrine
the
or
shrine.
whatever.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so clearly this person is obsessed or connected. I will be very disappointed if the killer ends up being someone random, like a
Yeah.
rando person that was just obsessed with, because that's how I kind of felt in Scream 5. Like I just didn't feel invested in anybody and I didn't care why they were killing people. So I do want it to be somebody I in my dream of dreams, it's Matthew Lillard. In
How
my dream
is
of
he still
dreams.
alive? Like, I mean, is it
So in Scream 1, he is crushed with a TV.
right?
We don't
Right. I
That's all
remember
we
that.
see.
Yeah.
I don't know if I told you that Scream 3, 4, one of the ones, there was a story that was supposed to be his character come back, that he
Okay.
didn't die, that he I think it was maybe Scream 3, and he came back and was killing people, but it was right after Columbine, and they were like, "We don't wanna do a guy coming to a high school and killing people."
Well, I mean, is
That
it like and I mean, obviously, I'm sure you haven't read whatever that proposed script would have looked like, but like, I mean, would he have gotten out of prison or something? Like, I don't even know how because he
I think
clearly he would have.
he was supposed to have been like a mental institution.
Okay,
And somehow would have escaped or something.
like
So
Michael Myers.
basically, yeah, like, yes.
Yeah,
So in my dream of dreams, that is what happens. I don't think that's what's going to happen. But when you think about a shrine, it would make perfect sense because
yeah,
he started it all. And
it
now look
would.
at everything that's happened because of that. But I don't think I'll get that lucky.
I'm gonna make a note of this timestamp because when Scream 6 comes out and we review it, we're gonna. I have a feeling you probably. I mean, you could be 100% right. Right. I mean,
I have nothing to back that up except what I just said,
yeah.
and that I love him, and I think it would be so amazing. But it's so good that I don't think it'll happen.
Well, and I think I told you when I first saw the trailer for this new film, my first thought was it's Sydney. It's got to be Sydney, right? Because she's, but because you would not, I mean, and I think logistically, right, that would be kind of a hard sell and people wouldn't love it. But it's because of that, you wouldn't expect her, right? I mean, you wouldn't,
You definitely wouldn't.
or
If
Gail
it
even,
hits
I don't
Sydney,
know.
there's
But
gonna be a full-on riot in the theater. Like that, I can't imagine. I don't and I
it's
honestly
going to be
I
like
think if it was
Stabathon.
yes. And I think if it was Sydney, I don't think Josh would have been as calm and collected as he seemed in his text messages.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
I don't, unless he's playing, which he could. Josh is a great
Right.
actor. He could be playing me totally.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be
I,
Sydney.
I do agree with you, though, that I would be well, yeah, I would be kind of disappointed if it were not someone who was either a legacy character or was very
Yeah.
clearly connected to the first 1 or 2 or 3
But I
movies, I
don't know
guess.
who else it could even be. That's the thing.
It could
Everyone
be,
else is
David Puddy, the guy that played the guard in Scream 3, like the bodyguard from you remember the guy that,
oh
like
yeah. Yeah.
he
I
was in
mean,
Seinfeld, so that's what I think of him from, but
did we ever really see him die? He got stabbed,
I
but
don't know.
did we really? So I have no idea. It's interesting. I feel and when you were saying how like I hope they carry the awareness into Scream 6, I do feel like taking it into a whole other city has really allowed them to do whatever they want. And I don't have an issue with that. I
Yeah.
really don't. Like they can do some total but it's just gonna be really interesting to see.
Would you be disappointed if, like, 3/4 of it is in New York and it ends in Woodsboro somehow?
Yeah.
That would be weird,
Yeah.
right? Like, I
And
don't
they're
think
like,
they'll do
"What
that,
are
but
you doing?" Yeah, like, because you brought it out. I am curious story-wise why all of these people are in New York City right now. Like, that's a lot of people that went from Woodsboro to New York City, like
and I assume the protagonist is the main character from Scream 5, right? I mean, I haven't really
Mhm.
I mean, I've I mean, I assume
Yeah.
that's kind of what they're going for.
Yeah, because that was their whole point, is we're creating a new cast of characters
Okay.
for you to care about, and now we're gonna try to kill them again,
Yeah.
basically. And I don't care about them. I'll be honest, one of the only reasons I'm excited is because of Jenna Ortega. And I only love her because of Wednesday. And now I just want to see
Okay.
her.
I haven't
So
watched that yet.
it
I
is
need to see
so
it.
good. It's
Is
so good.
it? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Um, okay, so Kim, I think our next review is maybe going to be one of the Leprechaun movies, I think, on
Oh my
St.
gosh,
Patrick's Day. Oh,
that's
actually,
right.
no, Scream 6. What am I talking about? We got to do
We'll do
Scream 6.
Spring 6, and then after that, yeah, St. Patrick's Day, which
Yeah.
is yeah. So
I
we'll
don't
have
even know when that is exactly. I mean, I know it's in March, but I don't know.
well, I know it's March 17th, but
Is that exact literally when it is? I just don't remember.
you don't know when St. Patrick's Day is?
Why that's why would I know exactly the day of that holiday?
Because it's always March 17th.
It's
It's
like
also my parents' anniversary.
okay,
So like
well then
which is hilarious because they're not actually together anymore. And St. Patrick's is a day known for drinking, and my parents have a drinking problem. Hello, YouTube.
on that
So,
note, no, well, I'm looking at the calendar. So you're going to go up to New York on Wednesday, and you're coming back
mhm.
Saturday, Sunday.
Saturday.
So I'm thinking like Monday we review the movie,
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
that.
that could
Yeah.
definitely work. And
Okay.
then watch Leprechaun or whatever.
Leprechaun in
And
Space, which I don't. We can watch whichever one. I don't.
I would
I,
like to do the first one because I've never
yeah.
watched it
Okay.
start to finish. Yeah.
From what I remember, it is very entertaining. Like it's definitely not high art at all.
Right. Yes.
But so not to go all the way back to what we were just talking about, was it? I guess it was Scream 5 where a lot of the characters are talking about how they love things like Hereditary, Babadook. Like they're kind of
Yeah.
getting into more like modern horror,
Yeah,
like
well, yeah, yes, because there is that line, "I still like the Babadook better," or some I don't
right
know,
at the
that's
end. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Which and in Scream 4, there's still a lot of that reference to, like, the old kind of horror movies, like, Herbie's got that whole thing where she's on the phone with the killer, and he's asking her questions, and she just starts listing horror movies, but they're all pretty like, the ones
yeah.
that you like, the classics.
Right.
So, which I
Um,
think people know. Not everybody has seen the more modern horror movies, and that's fine. So,
yeah. I still appreciate a really like old school slasher movie. Like I still think there's
that's
have you
a
seen Nope?
dream.
Did you see Nope yet?
No,
I thought
I
you were gonna say Nope.
did, no, I did not see. No,
I I have a little bit of an issue with the ending, but like 95% of that is a really good movie. Like I think
okay.
I mean, did you like Get Out? I assume you
I
did.
love Get
Yeah,
Out.
I
I
did
think
too.
Get Out was
That's
one
one
of
of
the
my favorite horror
best
movies.
movies
Like,
of the last 10 years.
yeah. So maybe you and Matt should come over one night. I mean, not that Erica would be super into watching Nope, but we could have food and hang out and watch
It
Nope.
doesn't seem as like
It's
bloody
not. Well, that's the
scary.
thing. It's not. It's a movie that has a lot of like unsettling stuff in it.
Okay.
Um, but it also, in a lot of ways, it's got some scenes that are very like Universal monster movie, old school type stuff, which I liked, if you want to call it that. But anyway, I don't
Yeah.
want to spoil anything. We'll watch it at some point.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else about Scream 4 and 5 other than you love both of them equally and wish that Scream 5 was lauded as one of the best horror movies ever made?
I will just say I'm very proud that after I saw that movie, I said I have no need to ever see this movie again, and I've never seen it again, and I will never see it again. So I'm
Yeah,
pissed.
I almost ordered the Blu-ray of both of these, but then I realized that Scream 4 is on Tubi, so you can watch it for free, which is
Yes, and
nice.
I own it. I do own Scream 4.
And Scream 5 is on Paramount Plus, which I have. So I was like,
Oh,
okay,
is
fine.
it? Okay.
Yeah, I'll watch it on that again. So yeah. So if you ever get adventurous one day, you can revisit it on Paramount Plus.
Mhm. No.
Okay. We'll be back soon with our review of Scream 6 and then the original Leprechaun, which will be a lot of fun. All right.
Yes.
Thanks, Kim.
Thanks.